Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. I am so glad you're joining us today. If you're the kind of person who loves looking under the hood to see how massive, incredibly complex systems actually work, you are in the exact right place. Today, we are breaking down the absolute machinery of the Indian electoral system. We'll be focusing specifically on the core concepts laid out in Chapter 7 on elections. We're going to explore the nuts, the bolts, and the philosophical spark that keeps the world's largest democracy running smoothly. All right, to get our gears turning right off the bat, let's look at a scenario straight from our source material. Think back to a grade school situation. Imagine a student named Gurmit. She was elected as the class representative in grade 8. Now, can we just automatically allow her to stay the representative in grade 9 without having a fresh election? What if a national government decided, we're just going to continue beyond our prescribed term without asking the people again? Or what if there was literally only one political party on the ballot? The answer to all of those scenarios is a resounding no. And that no is absolutely crucial because it reveals the total foundation of what makes a democracy actually function. So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. The core of democracy, direct versus indirect elections, India's specific electoral systems, the role of political parties, and lastly, the road ahead. Starting right off with Section 1, the core of democracy, the spark of the democratic engine. Now, before we get into the heavy machinery of how that spark actually ignites, I just have to share this fascinating little origin story from the chapter. Have you ever heard the term psephology? It's the scientific study of elections. But what is truly amazing is where that word comes from. It's derived from the ancient Greek word psephos, which actually means pebble. Yeah, a pebble. Thousands of years ago in ancient Greece, citizens literally used pebbles to cast their votes. I love that detail. It really gives you a deeper appreciation for the whole thing, showing us that the human desire to have a voice is ancient. Even if our technology has evolved from tossing stones to electronic voting machines, the core idea is exactly the same. So, regular periodic elections are the absolute heart of the system. And that's because they aren't just administrative busywork, they guarantee 4 very specific philosophical pillars. First, equality, meaning every single citizen gets an equal voice. Then representation, ensuring all those different voices are actually heard in the halls of power. Accountability, which is the vital mechanism that forces elected officials to answer to the public if they want to keep their jobs. And finally, legitimacy. This just means the government has the rightful authority to make laws simply because the people chose them. These 4 pillars act as the philosophical spark of our entire democratic engine. You know that iconic visual of the voting finger marked with ink, held up high? That simple act of pressing a button or marking a ballot, that is exactly where those abstract concepts of equality and accountability become totally real. It's a constitutional right for sure, but it is also a profound responsibility that connects every individual citizen directly to this massive democratic machinery. Moving right along to Section 2. Direct versus indirect elections, or basically how we actually choose our leaders. In any large democracy, it is practically impossible for everyone to vote on every single position or issue. Nothing would ever get done. So the system breaks it down into 2 main mechanisms. In direct elections, citizens vote directly to choose their representatives. You walk into the booth, you pick a name, and that person goes straight to the legislature. But in indirect elections, citizens vote for representatives, and then those representatives are the ones who vote to choose other specific leaders. It's an absolutely key distinction that dictates exactly how different levels of government are formed in India. Which brings us to Section 3, India's electoral systems. We'll be looking at first past the post and proportional representation. This cheat sheet is super helpful because it perfectly maps out how the Indian system operates. Let's walk through it together. For the Lok Sabha at the national level and the Bidhan Sabha at the state level, India uses the first-past-the-post system for direct elections. Simply put, the candidate with the most votes in a constituency wins the seat. Simple, direct, easy to grasp. But check out that second row. For the Rajya Sabha, which is the upper house, and for the positions of president and vice president, India uses proportional representation through indirect elections. The public doesn't vote for the president directly, the representatives they already elected do that for them. Now, to really understand that indirect proportional representation, we need to demystify something called the single transferable vote system. I know, it sounds incredibly complex, right? But if we break it down step by step, it actually makes total sense. Step 1. The voters. And remember, in this case, that means the elected representatives mark their preferences. Number 1 choice, number 2 choice, number 3 choice, and so on. Step 2. Only the first preference votes are counted initially. If a candidate hits a specific minimum quota of votes, boom, they win a seat immediately. Step 3. Now here is the absolute genius part. If seats are still empty, the candidate with the lowest number of votes is eliminated completely. But their votes aren't just thrown in the trash. They are transferred to whoever those voters marked as their second preference. Step 4. This process of eliminating the lowest and transferring their votes just continues until all the required seats are filled. The beauty of it is that it ensures almost 0 votes are wasted.
Let's shift gears to Section 4, the role of political parties, the operators of the system.
Think about this for a second. There are often hundreds of contestants running for various constituencies across the country. How on earth does an average voter figure out who stands for what? Just look at folks actively discussing policies and viewpoints at the local level. Political parties provide the actual framework for these conversations. They help voters understand vastly different visions for massive things like education, development, and national security. Without these operators organizing things at the grassroots level, a massive national election would be, well, pure chaos. Political parties are essential because they enable voters to make informed decisions by distilling super complex issues down into understandable party platforms. They organize public opinion, they focus their campaigns on specific issues, and ultimately they offer voters meaningful, categorized choices. Basically, they set the election agenda so you and I can actually navigate it. Finally, we reach Section 5, the road ahead, and the very real potholes in free and fair elections. I really love this visual metaphor because it captures reality perfectly. The path to the polling booth, representing free and fair elections, is not some perfectly paved, smooth highway. Oh no, it is a winding road filled with literal potholes. Despite the amazing design of this democratic engine we've been talking about, friction and real-world hazards constantly threaten to derail the process. So what exactly are these potholes? Well, Chapter 7 specifically identifies several major hazards that cause serious friction against our core values of equality and representation. Misinformation and fake news, they can deeply skew a voter's ability to make an informed decision, which, as we just discussed, is the entire point of the process. And intimidation threatens the very core of equality and free choice. These aren't just theoretical, textbook problems. They are very practical challenges that have to be actively managed every single election cycle. But hey, it's not all doom and gloom. There is a major safeguard in place. The Election Commission of India, or the ECI, along with various parliamentary laws, like the Representation of the People Act, acts as the robust machinery designed specifically to patch these potholes. Think of them as the road maintenance crew. Through tools like the Model Code of Conduct, electronic voting machines, and widespread voter awareness campaigns, institutions like the ECI exist to enforce impartiality. They work tirelessly to keep the transparent process moving forward, despite the immense challenges of managing an election in such a vast and diverse country. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a really fascinating debate prompt taken straight from our source chapter. Can one nation, one election improve the efficiency of the electoral process? It's a proposal to synchronize elections across all levels of government to save time and resources. But would it actually streamline the engine, or would it overcomplicate an already massive system and maybe even dilute local issues? It is a highly provocative question about the future of the exact machinery we just spent time exploring. Think about the direct and indirect systems, the sheer massive scale of it all, and the challenges we covered today, and ask yourself how this kind of reform would change the landscape. Thank you so much for joining me today on this explainer. Keep analyzing, keep questioning everything, and I'll see you next time as we break down another fascinating topic.